Let's
Welcome
do
back
it.
to another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood, the live sessions on Wednesdays. I am your host, along with the co-host. We are just rocking, man. We're talking about Oak and Rock Fatherhood. We're talking about parenting, and we go live in these sessions. It allows us to really break things out and share what it is we're doing and how we think that if we could work together with other dads, we could make the entire world on a higher trajectory when it comes to investing in the youth, taking care of future generations, and honestly bringing peace to our homes. Removing the division, removing the eggshells, removing, walking around each other, just being able to sit down, have a good time, and not worry about who's mad about what, who's going to get mad at who. You take that off the table. If you haven't listened to us before, stay tuned. We're about to get an hour, going diving right into it. We're going to be talking about toughening up your kids. So make sure you like, subscribe, share the good word. Anthony, when we talk about tough kids, like I've met your children. They are tough kids. They're mentally strong. They're always taking care of their bodies, and with your wife and what she does, making cakes, and your daughter making cookies, and they're still getting after it. It's not like, oh, you're living in this perfectly fine-tuned, everything is designed for fitness type ideal that people love to write people off online who talk about this. You're living a normal life. I'm living a normal life, and our kids are resilient. How does that happen when you don't beat it into them? Because that's one of the pushbacks we always get.
Yeah.
You're
No,
gonna
it's
make them
what
weak.
we get that all the time. You're going to make your kids weak. You need to give them tough love. You need to be hard on them. You need to hit them, right? How else are they going to learn if we're not physically hitting our kids? And it's a good conversation.
You see the chat? We got Mr. Phil Foster. I have to give that dude a shout out. My son, I actually just came back from coaching my first middle school game. It was cool. But you know how, like, if your dad's a coach in the team, the kid makes it? You're like, oh, it's because your dad made it. I wasn't coaching. My son
No,
made the team.
you
And then
became coach because your son made
coach,
it.
he got me on the team. But one of the things I was thinking about is that little athlete right there. He had to go through some injuries and whatnot. I reached out to the man tagged up here, Phil Foster. If you go to philfosterfitness.com, you can get training, nutrition. I'm on everything. I'm on the hormones. I'm on all of it. But importantly, I had to talk with him about my son. I was like, what's our training look like? What are we going to do? Like how does this work coming back at such a young age? And he gave me a breakdown for both him and my daughter. And guess what? I didn't have to beat them to get them into the gym. They wanted to come down there with me. I didn't have to hit my kids and you're going to go and get after it. They wanted to train. So I think there's something to it. If you get a good trainer like Phil, make sure you check him out. You get some dads who are connected with their kids. The kids want to spend time with you. And if they do that in the gym, guess what? You're going to have some tougher kids. Interesting how that works.
Crazy how that works. You're going to, I mean, you could have went the route of forcing them to work out, punishing them to work out. Every time they misbehaved, you make them do push-ups. That'll teach them real quick to learn to love how to get strong. But no, man, I think an important thing to understand as a father, right? I think there is a huge fear behind having kids that are weak, and I think that's what drives a lot of the unwanted behaviors within ourselves, not our kids. So we have this idea that we need to be tough on them. We need to push them, literally, physically push them to make them become better. And I think there's a big distinction between setting your kids up for emotional resilience, mental toughness, as opposed to trying to beat them or beat them down to make them stronger. It's like the old expression where they say you have to break the horse. Right? Your kids, that is not your kid. Your kid is not a horse. He's not an animal. If you take the time, you can condition your kids to be mentally tough. And I think once that's established, then they'll pursue challenges, right? They'll want to go after things because they don't have that little voice inside their head telling them that they can't, that they're weak, that they're no good. So you can't build children up by pushing them down.
When you look at it though, do you think that's another form of vicarious living? Like the dad is like, all right, well, I wasn't a stud in middle school. I wasn't a stud in the high school. So I'm going to push you so the world doesn't do to you what it did to me. And now they're just living through the kid. And that's the fear you're talking about.
Yeah, of course, man. Listen, you don't have to shout and bark orders to get your kids to listen. You have to explain things. You have to have enough resilience within yourself, enough mental clarity to understand that your kid has needs, right? It's not about your needs. And unfortunately, that's how the whole world is run, right? It's almost like people have kids because they have these unmet needs that they want their kids to fulfill, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm going to be a father, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pass down my values and principles and help create a child who has their own needs and has their own independence and is their own person." You don't see that in society, especially with fathers, like what you describing, Zach. There's so many men who try to live through their sons and their daughters, right? To put restraints or put pressure on their kids, that they have this, again, going back to the fear, but they have this fear that their kids need to be better than them. Their kids need to maybe not have the same life that they had, right? And go through the same things that they went through. So they're not really operating, I would say, at 100%. They're always thinking of the past. And when you do that, you're going to create depression. You're going to create all sorts of feelings that are going to make you parent in a less appropriate way or in a harmful way.
That's a very interesting point that I think ties in well with what Callan said here. If they're always looking to the past as to what happened to them, how they didn't make the cut, how they weren't as squared away, how they just weren't trying, and all the regrets that come with that. If they're always looking at that, then they're not looking forward. They're not looking at, hey, I can grow with this kid. Hey, I can do better. I can get myself and them in a position to where we grow as one, but now my kid's not going to face those things because we're just working on ourselves. You're not living through the kid. You're just living a more positive life, and you're letting them know the mistakes you made. Hey, I didn't try really hard in school. Like, that's one of my biggest things. I was like, buddy, I didn't weightlift. I didn't run. I didn't train at all. And I was like, I was a very good athlete. I did no work. Like, imagine if I had worked out. Like, that's one of my regrets. If I had to pick one, I'm like, dude, I wish I started working out way earlier. I wish I got introduced to weightlifting. I knew more about it earlier in my life, just because I'd be stronger. Everything would be better. And so I'm introducing that to them, and we're making that a thing. But I don't ever tell my kids that. I'm sharing that with you. I'm sharing that with the men watching. But that's not a conversation for them. It doesn't matter. If they ask me, were you good in school? No, I wasn't. Did you work out? No. It just wasn't a thing. We didn't do that. And I don't elaborate. I don't feel bad. I just say, but I do now, because I learned some more things, and I'm sharing that with you. You're learning faster than me. You're learning sooner than me. And there's going to be times that I miss the mark. There's going to be times that they miss the mark. And, you don't take that as a negative. It's a learning opportunity. And guess what? When they have kids, they're going to take everything you taught them, everything that they learned themselves, but then they're going to fill in the gaps of where they missed for your grandkids or their children. And so now your grandkids are 2 levels ahead of you on their starting point. And now you've set them up for a higher trajectory because you're not afraid of things. You're just aware of what they are. You're honest, and you speak with your children. Now relate that to what Kala is saying. Why do kids like Batman? Why do they like Superman? Why do they like the Ninja Turtles? Yeah, because they're cool as shit and they can fight and they have all these gizmos and gadgets, but they stand for something. Kala said kids don't pretend to be superheroes because the superhero is threatening. It's because they inspired by those heroes. Those heroes overcome odds. Those heroes go out of their way to do the right thing, even though the easy thing's right in front of them. They see that and they want to emulate it. Why not be that superhero in their life? Why not be a superhero dad, man?
Yeah,
you can. I just don't see any argument against it. Like, why would you not want to?
there is no argument. No, and listen,
Case closed, we're out. Be a superhero dad.
But there are those kids that want to be the villain, right? There are those kids that want to be the Joker. They want to be the bad guy. And I think those are the kids who are under tremendous abuse by their parents, right? The kids who don't have that inspiration to do good, to be a good person, to be that hero. There's the other side of that. And,
think about, who does everybody want to be when they're all jacked up? It's the Joker, the misfit, the one who doesn't fit in. You're absolutely correct. Yeah. I remember that the dude who dressed up like the Joker and shot up a movie theater, I think it was.
Yep.
Dude, you're like, that's not a theory. I just want people watching to understand that's not a theory you're saying. That happens. The kids, but they went back and the kid was being abused. The kid was like all sorts of jacked up and then twisted. I think things were happening to him sexually. And like, seriously, he went through some serious trauma. And, that's how it came out. So it literally played out the way you just said.
Yeah. No, and to go to Kala's point, kids are born to be good. right? They're born, they have this natural desire to be a good person, to be accepted, to be loved. And it is the parenting that destroys them. And this is something that's been going on forever. This isn't like me and you just found this out and we're like, oh my God, there's parents who are abusing their kids. This shit has literally been going on for centuries, right? Kids have been mistreated, kids have been brutalized. If you go back previous century, a lot of the kids were not even raised by their parents. They sent them away, and they were raised by caretakers
Who had 10 other kids.
who had 10 other kids to watch. Yep, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
And but this is the history of how we treated children. So you have all these parents who, most of them were brutalized, they were abused physically, emotionally, they were neglected, and now they're adults and now they're having kids and they're saying, I don't want my kid to be weak. I know what I went through. It sucked. And what am I going to do? I'm going to apply more pressure to them. I'm going to hit them. I'm going to abuse them emotionally, physically, because I want them to be better than I was. I want them to be stronger. And it's just not the way that it's going to happen. You're not going to make a child strong by abusing them. And the way that you can help them become strong, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, is by not hovering over them, not being the helicopter parent, not being fear-based, and letting your kids go through life, letting them process things at their own pace, letting them have the ups and the downs, letting them fail, letting them make mistakes without always correcting them and worrying that it's gonna hurt them. Because that's actually the process with that they grow in. And we know this, right? We accept this with adults. There's only a certain degree you can help somebody. You can throw ropes, but they have to pull themselves up. It's the same thing with your kids, right? You can't always be picking them up. And a lot of the same parents who say you got to hit them to make them tough are also the same parents who are coddling them in a way.
Oh, dude, I was primed to release that one. You absolutely set that one up, man. You know, they are the parents who aren't going to let them go out. They're parents who aren't going to let them fall down. They're going to keep them off that tree, but they're going to beat them to make them stronger.
Yep.
And you're just like, but that's where you find the parents are hitting the kid, but the kid's, you know, quote unquote, like mama's boy. You know, oh, it's so sweet. Oh, and the mom's got to coddle him and she take care of him. She's also beating the shit out of him with like a wooden spoon. And you're like, what? I don't get it. You know, but we identify problems a lot and we go down that, and we're gonna shift gears a little bit and we're gonna be positive.
Yes.
We're peaceful parents. We're gonna be positive in this episode because I was just about to go down a path where I'm like, we gotta fix. You know what? We're talking about how do we toughen kids up? If we can talk about toughening children up with a smile on our face and with a thing, we're like, the juxtaposition there is incredible because we're talking about tough and everybody thinks it has to be a negative thing. Do people not enjoy workouts? You know, do they not enjoy the art of eating good foods? Do they not enjoy, you know, going out into the woods, maybe feeling the cold, feeling the breeze? Maybe that's the issue. We've stopped enjoying the things that, while they're difficult, that's the point, the process. You know, we got to bring Justin up here because I asked it. I said, we're talking about toughening kids up. How the hell are you not up here with the tank top? You got to show those guns. Shout out to Justin. We've been on a vibe, man. I'm thinking about getting him down here so we can go fishing off the dock because I'm not catching anything. He's talking about needing to get down, so we'll be getting some content with him soon, and we'll get it back on here. But that's shout out Justin because I said the same thing, man. How are we gonna talk about tough kids without a tank top? But Anthony, what are your thoughts on that? On finding joy in the process of the grinding, helping our children do the same?
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent point. You know, we see it within ourselves. You go to the gym, you know it's going to be tough, right? You know you're going to have to do hard work. But not only do you get a good feeling in that moment, right? You get the endorphins going, dopamine hit, and you're feeling good about what you're doing. Just like when you raise your child, right? The prolonged process, the gratification that comes later with the child that you help build, right? You can toughen your kids up by having them do good things. But I think more importantly is the mindset that it's something that they want to do. So many parents kind of steer the ship and tell their kids where to go and what to do. I think that's not the role that we should be having as fathers. What we should be doing is providing them the lessons and guidance and set them out on their own. So this way, when they go do something and they want to accomplish something, they're going to have a little bit of pride of what it is that they're doing, right? Like, I made the choice. And we advise fathers of this all the time. Give your kids power, right? Let them steer the ship. Just make sure that they're not hitting the rocks. Check in on them every once in a while. But I think that's how you make kids tough, is by letting them make choices, letting them make decisions, and especially decisions that are going to affect their life in a positive way. And everything is age appropriate. I know there's going to be people who say, "Oh, you don't let a 2-year-old, drive the Harley Davidson, and you don't
Says
let
who?
them, you don't
Don't
let
tell
them
me
use
what
your."
to do with my 2-year-old. No, man. I think I want to clarify a point and then add something to that. So the point I want to clarify is, when I was talking about enjoying the hard thing, I'm not saying tell your kid go out and play in the cold. I'm saying you go for a walk in the cold with your child. And so when you're walking together and they're like, "Oh, it's cold," you can look at them and be like, "Yeah, but you know what? It's not too cold. It's just a little windy, but we're just going to go to there and back." Okay. So my dad's uncomfortable, but he's still going to do the thing. So I'm not saying send the kid to do the thing you wouldn't do or try to steer them in that direction.
Yeah.
I would let them know, like, "Oh, Dad, aren't you sore? Or you were up late. You're not feeling too well." "Yeah, that's okay. I still got to get my workout in. I'm just going to hop on the bike." You have opportunities to share with them you doing something that you might not want to do. They're going to follow that example. And one of the things that I loved is, it was like the middle of the winter. My daughter wanted to go camping. And I'm like, "Love, it's cold." She's like, "So we'll start a fire." I was like, "Say no more. I'm not going to say no to this." And we went out freezing cold, middle of the night, like out of nowhere. And we had to sleep over in a tent. And it was cold as shit, dude. And she loved it. And she's referenced that a few times. Remember when we camped? Now they have that metric. Like, I can do this hard thing because I did that hard thing. My dad did that hard thing, so I can do that. It's possible to do it. And so I think by our example of us doing the things we might not want to do, we show them it's the process of doing it. It's going for the walk in the cold. That is the goal, not really the walk. It's my mind is saying it's cold out, but I'm overcoming that obstacle, that resistance to train and to improve myself, because my ultimate goal is higher than my current small resistance. That's more immediate. That's right here. But man, do I want to get to that mountain of gold over there. I want to get to that. So I've got to go through this little thing, and it's going to suck a little bit, but that feeling when I get there is going to be so good. And you teach that to your children. And how is that any different from what you were saying about, when you have the kids involved and it slows things down, you've got to get through these longer term things that you could be done very efficiently. We had a discussion on that. The process of connecting with your kid, the process of letting them go, that is a part of parenting that you should not rob yourself of. I do not like seeing my children grow with that independence and not need dad anymore. And I love it at the same time, because I'm like, look at them go. Go ahead, little lady. Go get it, little man. Like, I'm so proud of you. I want to sit and hold them all freaking day, man. Like, just, yeah, let's be buddies and never leave the house. But that's not realistic, man. That's not life. It's not out of fear. It's no, not at all. That's we get Adam on here. We'll talk about attachment. Like, I love hanging out with them, but they are their own people. And you know what? I say that, but after like 10 minutes, like, "Jackie, we got to get out of here. Like, we got to go hang out and get some quiet time." And so they've got to grow up. We've got to maintain our lives. And it's a shame that some parents are trying to keep their children and in that little bubble as long as possible, because the kids are going to be dropped in the world and they're not going to be ready for it. And that's where the toughening them up, the process of doing that, will have you more connected with your child, and it will give you a better experience parenting at large. That's my theory.
Yeah, no, it's a good theory, man. It is. That's solid. I would say, to add to the toughening up part, right? You can physically lead by example, right? Do tough things like you were saying, Zach, and have your kids follow. It's also going to make them mentally tough. I would even go as far as saying to make your child tough, to toughen them up, make them ready for the world. A lot of that is going to have to do with what you allow in your home. And what I mean is allowing your kids to have a voice, allowing them to have an opinion, allowing them to speak up when they might disagree with you at any age, right? It's not age appropriate. This is if your kid disagrees, hear what they have to say, right? This is how you make your kids mentally tough. This is how they build up confidence. This is how, when they find themselves in a position later on in life where somebody's not physically hitting them, but badgering them, talking to them poorly, right? Or just mistreating them with language. And they can say, hey, man, don't talk to me like that. Or they can actually engage in a conversation and have an opinion. Nowadays, you see so many kids where if they disagree with you, and not even kids, young adults, they get hysterical, right? They can't handle it emotionally. They break down, they scream, they yell, and that is a symptom of what they're taught and how they learn to interact with other people when they're young. This is from parents screaming, yelling, parents shouting, parents getting angry. It does not make your kids tough. It makes them unprepared for the world, and it makes them really more vulnerable than what the intention was, right? If the intention is to make them strong, that's not what you're doing when you're um, abusing your kids in that way.
And in that, so let's talk about like a literal example of toughening your kid up. Again, because of youth sports, I went a totally different direction than you. You went to what's happening in the home. I went to putting your kid out there where they have to perform on their own. And so I view youth sports as an excellent way to do that. You learn leadership, grit. You've got to learn how to fail, make mistakes, own them. There's so much to it. Sometimes placing other people ahead of yourself, sometimes placing yourself ahead of other people. I love sports because I've just seen so much growth through both of my kids. Because no matter the sport, boxing is obviously an individual, but if you look at baseball, you look at football, if you don't do your one job, the team's going to fall apart. You have to do your job. You got to plug that hole. You can't win over that. Boxing, you're by yourself. Team sports, it's still, to me, there's a focus on the individual performance because that plays to the whole is just nothing more than the sum of all the individual parts. And so when you put them in that environment, you allow them to go out there and learn some things. Now, if you're the parent who's yelling at the kid, do this, move here, go there, touch that. I'm the coach. So first I'm like, stop. They're where I want them. But B, and I just had this conversation literally last night. So this is the rec team. I sat down with them. I was like, listen, I'm not going to tell you everything you're doing wrong. That's not my job as a coach to sit critique every move. I was like, I will watch you. I'll pick maybe one thing if I see it and if you repeat it. I was like, but you know what I'm noticing, guys? In the beginning, so let's say we're 2 months into it. I was like, in the beginning, I had to remind you, turn your body when you throw. Something simple like that. Or put your hands back when you swing. You guys will swing from your chest, and then you'll fix it yourself. You're learning. You're learning to catch yourself doing the wrong thing. Now you're learning how to critique yourself. Put that kid into an environment, they'll notice, man, I'm slouching. I should probably sit up. Oh, I'm whispering. I should speak for they know the lessons, but they've got to be able to do it themselves. But if a dad is like, sit straight, you're like, fuck, speak up. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk now. You've robbed them of the ability to flex that muscle. And if they were able to speak, they get stronger because now someone's speaking to them. And how do muscles grow? You put stress on them. How do you grow your ability to have discussions? You argue sometimes. You're comfortable saying something. That's why I am exceptional at public speaking. I will say my truth, and I do not care who's ready to argue because I know why I believe what I believe. And I'm always open to change my mind. I'm always open to change my mind. I don't care what it is. Even parenting. If somebody presents a good enough case, I'll be like, all right, you're right. No, hands down, you win. That is correct. My ego is not tied to being a perfect man. My ego is more tied to being my best self. That is something that my ego is really intertwined with. I always want to improve. And I pride myself on that. But if I never spoke, because I'm like, oh shit, what if Anthony says something and we're live? People are watching us right now. What if he says something I'm not ready for? Dude, I'm not going to be in the show. I wouldn't be able to speak. I'd be so afraid, like, yeah, Anthony, you're right. You're right. It'd be the, yeah, Anthony, you're right show instead of Oak and Rock.
Yeah, I think we're past that point.
But some kids would never reach that point, man.
Yeah. No, and that's an excellent point. I think a lot of kids they don't speak up. They don't get to express what's going on. And I would say, I would ask you even, it seems like it's common sense, right? It seems pretty cut and dry that what you just described would work out and would be true. But there are a lot of fathers who don't go that route. And is it more so that they've just been conditioned from their childhood? Is it insecurity? that they might not be doing a good job as a parent? Or do you think that they're just on autopilot and they don't even care? Like, why is it
I,
so common?
I think it's learned helplessness. I think they've decided or they've chosen that I can't fix me and I can't change my life, but I can help you not fall into the traps I'm in. I
Yeah.
do think it comes from a place of wanting to do well. And that's let's say 50%. The other
Tough,
50 is
yeah, tough
entirely
love.
different. But yeah, like them, they're like, you know what? I'm hard on you because I look where I am. I hate myself. I hate the things. If I had only tried harder, I'd be somewhere better. And instead of even thinking for a moment, I have a chance to be a better man. Look at you. You inspired me. I went to your little league game and your coach was fucking awesome with his beard. I heard him motivating you, and I'm going to be a better dad. And maybe the coach is really cool. Maybe he runs a show called Oak and Rock, whatever. And then the dad's like, I'm going to try. You know what? I can be better too. I can get some workouts in. You know what? I can get rid of this debt. You know, this house, maybe it's not the house I want to have, but we can clean it up and maybe we can put in enough reps, and over time we'll be able to put it on the market and move somewhere bigger. That's, to me, that's a normal line of thinking. Like, how am I going to fix my life? You know, for me, I'm going to get sober. I'm going to hang out with some dudes who are really squared away, and I'm going to learn a lot, and I'm going to apply their advice. I'm going to grow and ask questions. I'm going to make myself a better
Yeah,
man.
man.
Dude, so, some men, I think, have just thrown in the towel at 30, at 40, and they genuinely are just like, I'm done. Put me out to pasture. Here's your only hope, kid. I'll be mean to you, and I'll be the asshole if that means that you'll be a better person. Not understanding the anchors are tying onto them. I truly believe it's from a place of love for half the people. The other half are just assholes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's from a place of love for their child, but a lack of love for themselves.
That's
Right?
that's better said.
Yeah, that they're not willing to improve their own life. So instead of focusing on what it is that they need to fix, it's almost that they have a anxiety about what's going to happen to their kid. So it's so then we can go back to saying that if the weak kids that we see in society, right, all these soy boys and all the children that are having issues and problems in the world, it's part of it could be a reflection of what we just described, right? Fathers, and these are fathers who are in the home. So think about the percentage wise, if you break it down, there's a lot of single family homes without fathers. Um, what is it? 54%?
57%.
57. Fuck. I missed it.
Oh man, Justin's in the chat too.
So there is a large percentage of fathers not in the home. And then factor in the fathers who are what we just described, right? The dads who are living in fear, the dads who aren't fixing themselves, and that's being imposed on their kids. Man, it's almost, I mean, it is sad. Just think about percentage wise, how many kids, how many, yep, I got it. Thanks, Justin. But think about how many kids really have an actual shot at having a great life because their parents are squared away, or their parents are even there, and then they're squared away, right? If imagine how many kids, I would love to see the percentage on that. How many children are raised in a home where a father has confidence, a father is living an authentic life, working on himself, improving his physique, improving his finances, improving his marriage. That's 57%. That's probably 0.5%.
Dude, that's wow. I've not thought about it in that light, you know, but when you really think about it, how many dads could say, I want my kid to be like me? Not many.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever thought that until this conversation. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I'd want them to be their version of me. I'm fucking happy, dude. I'm learning daily, I'm growing. And so I want them when they're 35 to be learning, to be growing, to still be hungry and getting after it. Like I said, dude, I think at 30, when dad's at, let's say, I don't know if it's the average age, man. I don't know when people have kids. Let's say at 30, you've got a 2-year-old or 4-year-old or something like that. That's when they throw in the towel, when they've hit a point where they have roughly a toddler, you know, and then they're just like, all right, that's it. I'm done. And it's like, whoa, pump the brakes. You just started. You now have every reason to become your absolute best self on all fronts. But to bring it back a second too, for those kids who are growing up in that 0.57%, where the dad's squared away, the mom's squared away, it's peaceful connection, you know, and they're allowed to be themselves and have an equal seat at the table. Dude, my conversation with you about you confronting me publicly Imagine from birth, that child is allowed to speak their mind, say their truth, and everything that I was saying to you, but they were doing it from the moment they were born. Their parents like, what's up? I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to respect you. Oh, you don't like this? Cool. I hate green vegetables too. Let's go get some red ones. Oh, you hate all vegetables? Let's go to the store. Find something you want. 3 years old, 4 years old, 7 years old. By the time they're 12, they know how to cook. They know how to pick their own foods. They know what they like, what they don't like. They know who's going to treat them with respect. They know how to speak. They know how to give respect. And if you throw into there, you're training, you're working out, you're living a certain life a certain way, the foods that you guys consume, the activities you do, like my wife and I, we don't go. I hate when I have no examples because we don't do the thing. We don't go, like when we go on vacation, we don't sit down and do nothing. We don't just gorge on food. We go places where there are events or activities. We'll go whitewater rafting somewhere. We'll go camping somewhere. We'll go do something where there's activities associated with it. So we have a very active lifestyle, and the kids are like, that's normal. If we had more kids growing up where it was normal to be squared away, to be active, to be moving, we would be solving so many fucking problems. And these kids are tough because they're not scared of you. Because guess what? I was brought up to believe in me. I'm not scared of shit. I got in trouble. My son, I thought was going to get in trouble because he squared up against a bully. And I was like, bro, cool. Fist bump. Moving on. Don't care. Like, this is not an issue. You are not in trouble. You did the right thing. Very cool. It was like a little skirmish. I don't even think I told you about this. It wasn't even like it was just a big nothing burger of just him like, hey, you stop picking on them or you'll deal with me. And kids like, whoa, we're friends. We're cool. All right. Easy day. Dude, imagine a bunch of sons doing that. Imagine a bunch of sons who could meet that kid who's the bully and be like, bro, you're hurting inside. I get it. Your dad's a fucking asshole and you're trying to take it out on us. Cool, man. Dude, these kids are capable of so much more than we give them credit. I have seen conversations like that play out at 10 years old.
Yeah.
That not prompted by me, not prompted by any adult. I have watched 10-year-olds handle shit like, hey, dude, you're really upset because you're stressed out because you got yelled at. Yeah, just ignore your dad. I don't know why he's always yelling at me. You're just like, holy shit. Now let's make more of those. Those are tough kids. You don't got to beat them to submission. You got to give them the opportunity to thrive and grow their muscles. Stress them in controlled environments. Put them into sports. Bring them out camping. Let them work out with you. That's controlled chaos where you can get really fucking strong.
Yeah, man. Well, like we always say, it's about making connection. And I think that's what a lot of fathers miss is that to make your kids strong, you have to be connected to them, right? We need that healthy attachment. And everything you described is along the lines of that, right? It's a father who is present, a father who's putting in the reps, the father who's doing the work to be connected with his kid. If you're not doing that, of course you're going to resort to other things. Of course, there's going to be other ways that are going to motivate you to parent in an unfriendly way or an unwanted way, right? None of our kids want us to be assholes to them, right? They don't want us to scream and yell. It's not desirable. It's not what relationships are built on. And besides making them weaker, you're doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing. You should be forging a bond, building a relationship. You're actually creating distance. And as we know with humans, there's nothing strong with isolation, right? You're teaching your kid that their problems, their issues have to be dealt with by themselves. And I know you've spoken to many of them, Zach. I've spoken to many men also. The lone wolf, the man who will not ask for help, the man who wants to stand alone, the man who wants to go through hard times by themselves because they're ashamed to ask for help, or they don't think that they're worthy of another person helping them. That's what you do when you abuse your kid, physically, mentally, emotionally, when you neglect them. This is what you're doing. You're creating that adult who does not want help, who's not going to be strong enough to ask for help, and who's going to wallow in his own self-pity, is going to be his own worst enemy. And we see, I don't know the number, but we see a lot of young adults on medication, antidepressants. It's a huge problem. And for it to stop, for it to get better, you need that connection.
I would say with that, I thought you were going to go to the prison route. I was going to let you run with it.
The prison route? No.
Yeah, you're talking about solitary. I was like, ooh, solitary confinement. Here it comes. But no, dude, I absolutely agree. Something else I realized, I'm sitting here drinking out of a Phil Foster cup. So another shout out to Phil, keeping me hydrated. But bro, I'm looking at this. We got to start having like product. We're gonna put a sign up. Want to be a sponsor? Sponsor the Toughen Rock, dude. You look at these people, and I always try to think of like, what's the argument here? So here's the argument. Well, my grandparents, they were tough as shit, and they didn't have anything as kids, and their parents beat them. And I'm like, all right, you're thinking about your hardcore grandpa. He raised the man who you say fucked your life up. And he's like, I hate my dad. My grandfather was so hard. I cannot even begin to touch in the cognitive dissonance going on there. The man that you're praising beat the shit out of the dude who raised you, who you hate. And so let's take it to the next generation. The kids these days, they're soft, they're weak, they're fucking pussies. They all want to have their face in a screen. Who's raising them? If you were so fucking hardcore in your youth, why did you turn all that away when it was time to raise your kid? They didn't magically find the tablet. They didn't magically get soft, chubby, and have no hard edges to their body. They didn't all of a sudden sit down and play video games 9 hours a day. You let that happen. The kids these days are a product of your weakness. And I'm looking directly at the camera, so whoever's watching this knows I'm talking to you. Get real serious there for a moment. The intensity. Dude, when I think of just people saying the kids these days, it's like nails on a chalkboard, because I just want to walk up and be like, bro, who the fuck do you think created this? Who? The people, like, who did this? Whose fault is it? Like,
we know who. You asking me? You're not asking me.
No, I'm not asking you. I can't fucking think of why we would miss this. Why we would ever forget the fact that, like, well, the kids aren't as hard as they should be. Yeah, because you let them do whatever the fuck they want. Well, the school lets them do whatever they want. So you're saying the school's raising your kids? No, I'm raising my kids. Why are your kids soft? Like, this is the loop we're going to be in forever, eternally. So we're talking about how to get kids up. You've got to apply it. You know, you can't just beat around this bush. The responsibility to hardening kids up, to making them tougher, is to being a tougher man yourself, to leading your wife, to being a tougher woman, to just having tough fucking parents. Y'all should be badass. You should do things and handle things, whatever's coming your way. It should be normal for family workouts. You know, I say the family that trains together remains together. It should be normal for you guys to go on hikes together. It should be normal for you to camp and get away from the electronics and the pleasures that you have. It should be normal for you to sit out there and fish for hours, not doing anything and not catching anything, but it's fucking cold because the goddamn breeze is coming by, and your boy Anthony didn't give you enough skills to bring home from freaking our event to my house so I could catch. My kids could think I'm a hero. I'm not a superhero, Anthony, because I can't catch any fish.
Well,
but we're hard people.
That you got to work on. No, and I think an excellent point to that, Zach, is when you are a family unit and you do those things together, right? These tough things or these things that are hard, they're not seen as difficult, right? It just becomes routine. It becomes a habit that you do, right? You get up and you go to the gym. You come together at dinner time and you cook. You take the time to cook good meals, to cook good food. You take the time to sit down. Those are not easy things to do. If they were easy, everybody would do it, right? Nobody's doing it. The society is void of it. So doing these hard things, it becomes a normal routine. Having conversations with your kids, right? Uncomfortable conversations, talking about things that matter. At first, it's going to be difficult. It's going to seem like it's a hard thing to get past, but it becomes normal. And then you find yourself having deep and meaningful conversations often. And you don't think, oh man, that was so hard. I'm glad that's over. You think, wow, that was awesome. I want to have more of those conversations in my life. I want my kids to come to me with those problems. I'm not going to, steer away from them. I'm going to face them. And at first they will be difficult, but you have to keep getting in those reps. You have to face that fire. That's what makes you strong. That'll be what makes your kids strong. And then you know what? When your kids have a problem, they're not going to run from it, right? They might say, hey, I have an issue I can't get past. I need help. Or they might say, hey, I'm really down, right? This is bothering me. I don't know what to do. That is strength, right? That is your kid showing you that they trust you enough that you're going to take the time and sit down and either listen to them or help guide them through it, right? The best that you can. You don't always have to have the answers, but what you do is you create that bond. You create intimacy. You create a relationship where two people trust each other and they can talk openly. That is that is the strength that kids need this day and age. That's what's missing greatly.
When we talk about stress, I think in that you kind of hit the nail on the head without saying it literally. So I'm going to say it for those who might not have gotten those two connections. The stress that you're going through to have the difficult conversation with the child, or to allow the child to speak to you in a way that you might not have allowed them to prior, to allow them to just speak their truth, that's stressful. That's how you grow stronger. It is in those conversations. They're as much of an essential component to this as the youth sports, as them performing out on their own. Those difficult conversations will make you a stronger man, because you can handle a stronger child. And the child is getting stronger in the process of you becoming a stronger man. You both get better, and you both get closer. And what, isn't that what a diamond is? Like the closer it gets, the more you compact the coal, and that's what turns into a diamond. I didn't take organic chemistry or anything, so I've always been told that's how it works. But that's what you want, man. Like maybe right now it's a clump because you're this far apart. But if you keep having those difficult conversations, you're a little bit closer. You go out and do hard things together, a little bit closer, and you keep pushing down. Now your family's shining bright. And it's funny because what's normal to you isn't normal to the masses. My son, I call him little buddy. So now the world knows. In my head, he's my buddy. My little buddy, he had a sleepover, and I was doing something. They came downstairs, and my son, he hops onto the trap bar, and he starts like showing how he does deadlifts and whatnot. And the kid's like, "You can do that?" And dude, totally normal, because I built a pretty sweet home gym to hop on and just like get after it. And this kid was like, "Well, how do I hold it? What do I do? How much weight do I pick up? What's this?" Dude, I could see this kid's brains flying. He's like, "This is like a gymnasium. Like, let's go." And I was like, "Don't touch anything. Like, you're going to hurt yourself." So I set them up. I got them like this little thing, and they're doing their little mini workouts and like, man, smash their chest, taking the shirts off, running around like boys. And dude, I was like, I could see in that kid's face, he was just like, "This is awesome." And I'm like, man, I wish I could bottle this up, give it to you to bring home, because this should be normal. I didn't even think about how awesome it was. And neither did my son. We're just like, "Oh, this is what we do on Saturday mornings."
Yeah,
this is not even fun. You want to do something fun? Let's go check this out.
Yeah, let's go cannonball into the river. No, man, and that is that's excellent. That's awesome to hear. There's way too many kids that are treated like robots, and I've seen it with my kids growing up. Same thing, same kind of examples. That they know how to do a lot of stuff that other kids, they can't even fathom. They don't even understand. Like you just said, your son picked up the trap bar and started working out, and the kid's like, "What are you doing? How do you do that? How do I hold it?" They're never, forget about their dad showing them or their dad actually doing it. They're just not around it, right? They never, and what I mean not around it is they never have that option to be involved. It's always go away. You don't have time for this, right? We got to get you on the schedule. You're going to have to go to bed so you can wake up, you can go to school, you can eat dinner at this time. Then we got to run you here to do this. And then you're going to go to the babysitters. And the kids are treated like robots. They're treated like part of the machine. They never get feedback. They never get to question things. They never get to answer honestly or genuinely, right? They're just running. It's like they're running on this treadmill or this hamster wheel, and they never get to experience childhood anymore, right? They never get to go out and run and play and be free. They're time constricted from a parent's fucked up schedule, from the parents being caught in the rat race because the parents are not squared away. The parents don't have their life figured out. And that emotional garbage gets dumped on the kids. And that's why you see kids who, they don't know how to turn a freaking barbecue on. They don't know how to take a hook out of a fish. Right? They've never been, it's never been experienced. They're not living life. They're following a routine.
Because we haven't caught any.
No, not at all.
No, thanks,
no man, I seen you killing fish at the
I'm just
meetup.
Kidding, dude. Hey, no, that minnow was strong. Minnow slay, baby. It's interesting how you said that they're never around it, because there was like a little moment. I think I was sitting in the living room, and they came in and they were about to shoot up. And I was like, "Hey, what's going on? Grab a seat."
They were about to what?
So at that same sleepover, I was in the living room, and they were kind of just walking through. I was like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" And the kid looked a little uncomfortable. I was like, "No, grab a seat, like totally cool, and sit down." You're right. They're like, go away. They're not used to sitting down and having conversations. there are some kids out there who are not a part of their parents' life in that regard of like lounging around or spending time like that. It's the dad's working and the mom's cleaning and then you're doing your thing. And there is no mom, dad, you just sitting down. That's not dinner time. Like, hey, sit, like, just talk about your day. What's going on? They're like, oh shit, you really want to know? Yeah, man. Like, lay it out, like, whatever. I'm not, who am I going to talk to? Anthony? I got to talk to that guy live in about an hour. I'm busy.
No, but then they'll tell their friends or their family, like, oh, little Johnny, he's just shy. He doesn't like to talk, or there's something wrong with him, right? He's abnormal. This is how they'll treat their kids with other people because they're not taking the time to bring them in to be part of the conversation or be part of what they're doing. So they push it or they dump it all on the child.
But these frail packages, like you got to bring them here and ship them and drop them off. When you pick them up, put them in the car, drive to the next place, drop them off, pick them. It's just like a care package you send them around. It's the wildest thing. But then you look at guys like Jimmy G, who's absolutely been crushing it. And he says, so true. You need to get in the reps with easy stuff so you can handle the big things when they happen. What we're seeing too, everything that we're laying down, the foundation right here about strengthening your kids, it is about making your kids tougher. But we're not just talking like this. It's when people say masculinity, they have an image of like whiskey and beards and like shit like that. When you say and guns, when you say, I want to toughen my kid up, they think of like the bully with the fist. That's a tough kid. Rarely do you think of the kid who can speak truth to a crowd that disagrees with them. Whoa. The one kid who will raise their hand in class and stand up and be like, I believe this against what everybody else believes.
Yep.
Taxation is theft. No, we're on board with crypto. Let's go. They're going to lead a revolution. Have the kid who you put those reps in now and you build that now. So you don't have the kid who's going to therapy and talking to them in their 30 about how they don't know who they are because of what you did to them. Yeah. Or when you sit there and the kid says, hey, dad, I tried some alcohol at this party. And you're like, well, what did it taste like? All right, was it good? You okay? Anybody else drinks? Everybody okay? Everybody get home? All right. Here's my experience with alcohol. Here's how I feel about it.
You want to join my group?
Let's make 365 sobriety. You got to pay. I'll be running the sale in a little bit. But then you send them like, all right, just let them learn a lesson and like, hey, like, let's make smarter choices. Let's make sure we like really have a hand on this before we start doing things. All right, cool. So with Jimmy, in this situation he's saying down there, that happens. Now fast forward to when they're in a jam. Hey, something went south. Instead of hiding it, they'll be like, no, last time I told my dad about this, he was totally cool with it. He gave me some advice. We spoke like too long, whatever. Your punishment was sitting down and listening to your dad talk too long. It's not too bad. I'm starting to fall into your category. I'm realizing the kids are like, oh, not another talk.
It works, man.
It does, dude. But that's what I'm saying. When they're older and like it's a real issue and they're stuck somewhere and they need to call, they're not going to be afraid. They're not going to hesitate at all. Dad, can you help me? And of course you'll be there to help them. You're their father. But you're never going to get that phone call if they're scared of you.
And listen, man, that's an excellent point that Jimmy brings up often, right? He words it really well. And he took, he'll bring that up in a lot of the fatherhood Zooms when guys haven't heard it. And it's an excellent point. And especially coming from a guy whose biceps are about as big as my legs. Jimmy's a tough guy, but he is one of the most sincere and sweetest fathers that I've spoken to, right? He has 2 little girls.
So why doesn't he come on Oak and Rock?
And he's been on the FOE live streams.
All right.
But we got to get him on. Absolutely.
We got to get him on. We got to show him to the world. That's a father people need to hear from.
Tank top. That would be the tank top session.
Yes.
No, but it's gold, man. It really is, right? It's to make your kids tough enough that when they're in a tough spot, they're going to come to you and they're going to ask you for help, right? Being weak is avoiding it, saying, I can't call my dad. You know what's going to happen if I call my dad? He's going to whip my ass. He's going to punish me. He's going to take my car away. He's going to take my phone away. There's going to be negative consequences if I call my dad up right now and tell him I'm in a tough spot. That is not healthy. That's not a good relationship. That is fucked up. That is teaching your kid to be weak, not tough.
You're absolutely correct. And think about it. When do parents drop corporal punishment on the kid? It's not when they're in a great emotional state. It's when they're fractured. It's when they're impatient. It's when they're broken. It's when the last straw hit. Half the times they don't even want to do it. They just snap. It's like they black out. I've spoken with many dads who are like, I go through the day and I'm ready to not do it. I'm ready to make it. This is the day. It's kind of like drinking. I'm not going to drink today. And then 5 to 7 o'clock hits and that routine comes in and you're ready to relax. and you conditioned yourself. And these people, they condition themselves. No, I got to lash out and shut this down. You can't do that. You're telling your kid not to have a temper tantrum. You're telling your kid not to lash out at teachers. You're telling your kid not to lash out at other kids. You're telling your child to grow up and control yourself and act like an adult. You're crying like a little baby. Whoa. Let's reverse this. What are you doing? Where do you think they're learning this? Boom.
The internet.
That's when the mic, it's the school's fault. It's fucking TV. It's the Oscars' fault. Will
It's
Smith.
everybody else's.
I'm trying to be relevant. Maybe that'll help.
It's everybody else's fault but my own. And that's the stuff that has to stop. Right? We need to be accountable, self-ownership. We say it all the time. To raise kids of good character, you have to be a man of good character. Or a woman of good character, right? Women are not excluded. We need good mothers, good fathers. That's why we speak about peaceful parenting. You parent on principles. You parent on what or how you would want to be treated. That's how you treat your kids. You don't make exceptions, right? We don't say that nobody can hit anybody, but I can hit you. It's being a hypocrite. And in order to have your kid have some kind of understanding of the world that they're living in, that they're being raised in, you have to be consistent, right? Parents say it all the time. You got to be consistent with your kids, right? You got to have a consistent bedtime. You got to have consistent rules. You got to have consistent consistencies. What about being consistent with your morals? Standing up for what it is that you believe. We don't hit anybody. I'm not going to hit you, son. I'm not going to hit you, daughter. You start living by what the fuck it is that you're speaking, being a man of integrity, things change, right? You have to find better ways. You want to make your kid tough, you don't beat them down. You build them up. It's as simple as that.
This is where the magic happens. I love when you get fired up, man. Like, that's legit. I have nothing to follow that up. We're going to end it with that. that was fantastic. Honestly, that's going to be the clip. We're going to snap that out of here, put some epic music to it.
Come on, man. I wasn't even wearing a tank top.
I know. You're really, really fucked up on this one. We got to coordinate. But, dude, that was so well said on beginning to end. I have nothing to add, dude. Like, honestly, when you look at it, I mean,
no, that's it. Don't add anything.
It's real.
It's good.
It's fucking real. Like, good work.
Yeah, man.
If you like what we're putting down, if you're tuning in, if you like rants like that, he gets going every now and then. Maybe listen to every other episode. But when you dig it, if you dig the conversation that we're having, like, this is what we're trying to do. Get more fathers to start thinking like this and to start speaking like this and start connecting with others like this to normalize this discussion. I want the entire world to be talking about being better fathers, being present fathers. You mentioned mothers. Because we're talking fatherhood, it's because that's what we are. We're fathers. We can speak better to it. But I will say this. The mothers that are listening, you'll be better off doing these same exact things as well. And here's the thing. You cannot fail by investing in being a better parent. You cannot go wrong by trying to be a better human being for your kids. And today, I turned around and a lot of the dads are still working. Middle school games, they're in like the middle of the day. It was like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock games. These dudes are still at work. But all the moms were there. The stands were filled with moms. I was like, man, they're there. They're cheering. They're supporting. They're present. Some of the kids weren't even playing. They came there to bring their other kids to watch it. Now, it's probably like a little bit of a Southern thing, which is new for me being down here, but to see those families together, to see the moms connected, to see all these boys, doing their thing, those moms had to make it a priority to get in the car, to get all the clothes ready, to get the cleats and stuff, to get them to the game, to get them on time. The other ones to show up, to get out of their vehicle, to go sit with the other moms, to talk about it. How are you doing? How are you doing? Oh, we should get the boys together. Let's connect here. I coach a few for rec ball. So those moms like, oh, well, we can get them there. They're investing in what can we do with the kids? How can we support the kids? Where can we bring them so they can do their thing? They have their back. And that's a lot of the moms who are stepping in because the dads are working. So we talk a lot about fathers, but if you're a mom who's like, well, my husband's at work and he's trying to be the best dad he can be, but during the day, I'm the one yelling, then you're the one we're talking to.
Yeah.
If the dad's doing all right and he's coming back and relaxing, hanging out with the kids and doing his thing then, but you're stressed out because you have them all day, we're talking to you. And so while we're talking about fatherhood, it's just as important that you understand a mom putting in these reps, you might do it a different way. Maybe we come across as a little bit heavier from our chest with the way we speak. It's very direct. But honestly, we're saying the same thing that the other other moms should be saying to you, hey, slow things down. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Just keep up with your kids. Just hang out with them, run around with them, catch pace with them. I can't remember how it was, either Noah or Josh. I said, instead of trying to lead them,
pace and lead.
Pace with them. And now you're with them, and now you can set a tempo and see how fast they can go. And then run at that level. And you start to pull away, you slow it down, and they'll build those muscles. And now you're side by side. And as the kids grow, not just in age, but also in mindset, you'll find yourself be like, man, this is cool as shit. Like, I love parenting. And I think that's something that we're striving to get to, because we think it's cool as fuck to be a dad. Half my hashtags are dad AF. That's dad as fuck. I enjoy this life. It doesn't mean I'm less of a man. I do a lot of things with just my wife. I do a lot of things by myself. It's not that it has to compromise your integrity or your identity at all. You can stay true to your mission. I'm sitting here right now streaming with you. My kids are finishing up homework, whatever.
No, but it is an important job. It should be taken seriously. Yeah.
With intentionality.
And to go to the comment with Justin left, right? Not to be being too cool. Kids do dumb shit, addicted to drugs, etc. I just want to point out that it's not about being too cool. It's not about us being our kids' best friends. Kids will do drugs and dumb shit because they're in pain, because they're not connected. When you connect with your kids, I don't care how cool it is. It's about a relationship that you're building. So if you're worrying about your kids doing dumb shit and getting addicted to drugs, being tough on them is not going to help them, right? Being tough when a kid is going through pain, that's why kids get addicted. There's pain. They're trying to numb it. So absolutely be cool with your kids, right? Be open, be honest, build a relationship with them. Don't ever worry about that causing them to do dumb shit. The dumb things happen because they're disconnected, not because they have a good relationship with their dad.
Again, well said. And I'll actually go a little bit further into where I recommend you check out our video where we talked about fear-based parenting. That's a fear content right there. Yeah. Oh, if I get this kind of relationship, they're going to do drugs. Why are you afraid of that? Where does that fear come from? It's a good question. It's worth diving more into. Like I said, hit us up with the DMs. We're all about this discussion. Drop in the comments. We do have a video on this, but we'll be doing another one because there's a lot more to it than just what we've covered so far. I mean, it's a deep rabbit hole. But again, if you like the content, make sure you like, subscribe, share, spread the good word. If you have the questions, the comments, concerns, Justin, I see the comment, but I've got to get the fuck off here, man, or I'll be on here another hour. I'm trying to wrap this one up. We've got the final 31 DTM call I've got to get to. Those dudes are going to break my legs if I don't show up. So
we'll engage you next time, Justin.
Topic, yes, sir. Make sure you hop in the next one. We'll roll with it. Dude, if you want to come on, we'll sit and talk about it. That'd be fucking awesome. Justin's a cool dude. But spread the good word. We've got to roll because as dads, we got our busy lives. So you guys stay well, stay tuned, push a good word. I'll catch you next time.